My Clubhouse. My name is Sally Colón, and I am here with a total Hollywood rock star. He's known as the Accidental Gangster and the mob boss of Hollywood. Please help me welcome author of the Accidental Gangster, Mr. Ori Spado.
Hey, Sally, how are you?
I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like if I say something wrong, he might put a hit out on me.
Nah.
No? Okay, all right, we're good then.
You don't have to worry about it.
I don't have to worry about it. All right. I had to write so many notes after reading your book. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So I met Ori on Clubhouse. We met on Clubhouse.
We met on Clubhouse.
And I heard your voice and I was like, who is this guy on Clubhouse? And I think we kind of got off on the wrong foot because, you know, Clubhouse is crazy. For anyone that knows Clubhouse, it could get a little crazy. But I'm so glad because I feel like sometimes when you meet somebody under maybe not the best circumstances, they end up being some of your closest friends, correct?
It's happened to me so many times. I mean, we would kill each other and then we become friends.
Like literally though.
It literally happens, okay? It does.
How did you come up with the name, or how did the name, the Accidental Gangster, all of a sudden become like part of who you are?
Well, all my life I've been an avid reader, right to this day. And while in prison, I read over 300 books.
Oh, wow.
And when I was in Lompoc, actually being in prison probably saved my life. I'd probably be dead now.
Being in prison saved your life?
Yeah, because I started walking. I was walking 7 miles a day in prison.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, you're walking the yard, what you got? You got to kill your time and think. And I thought if I ever wrote a book, not dreaming I ever would, I'd call it The Accidental Gangster. And
Wow.
so upon my release, my entertainment lawyer, George Ham, we had dinner at the Four Seasons, and he looks at me and he says, "You got to write a book.
You got to
I know
write
your
a book."
story."
Because I feel like a lot of people have a book in them, but it's a lot of work to write a book.
Yeah.
And so did you write this book on your own, or did somebody else kind of co-write it with you?
Let me explain. He said, "Get a co-writer." All the writers I know out here in Hollywood are script writers. Writing a script, writing a book, two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I'm sitting in my chair. I'm thinking, how hard could this be? I need a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I sat down and boom, I banged it out.
You banged it out.
It took me a long time. It was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
I had to relive my life, but my goal was my voice had to come off the pages, and every word is going to be the truth.
This is it. It's called The Accidental Gangster. It's available on Amazon. And there's so many great parts of this book. I read this book and there was like ups and downs and all arounds, and just did not expect a lot of the stuff that I read about you. Like, because, you know, you meet people on Clubhouse, you don't really know their background. There's so much BS that goes on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
You and I know it both. I want to know about that moment in June of 2008 where they came knocking on your door after you heard lots of car doors slamming shut. You probably looked out the window and said, "What's going on?" And it was a bunch of FBI agents. Walk me through that day.
I knew it was coming. I heard the doors. I could have gone out the back door, so I had a back door to my place, and gone upstairs to a friend's apartment. I said, screw it. And then boom, they knocked on the door. I opened, I had a cigarette in my mouth. They knocked that out, put the cuffs on. And my son hears all the noise.
Wow.
All right, and he comes out of his room. He thought I had the TV on too loud. And
Wow.
The house was sworn. I mean,
it was definitely not the television.
They had over 22 cars around the block.
Wow. For one guy.
You know,
you must have been dangerous, Ori. They sent out the cavalry of 20 cops.
Yeah, they do that. They do that for sure. All they had to do was pick up the phone and say, "You've been indicted, you got to be in Brooklyn." And I would have gotten on a plane, flew back.
And they also, I believe I read in the book that they also handcuffed Anthony, not because he was in trouble, but was that freaked you out a little bit as a dad? Like, why are you handcuffing my son?
Yeah, they did. And, you know, in my film, I just read what the writer did. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it brought tears to my eyes. That morning, and, you know, when they took me away, and I heard from Anthony, my son, things that he never said before, you know, and I mean, he had to act quick and this and that.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he sat down and he's holding my dog Maggie, and I had Fox News on, and he looks up, and there, under the headlines, Colombo crime family. They arrested, by that time, they only had 7 in New York, 1 in Los Angeles.
Oh,
All right?
wow.
He said, holy shit.
You're on the news, national news.
Now, you got to
Yeah.
remember, I did not know that I was being arrested on an organized crime case.
Oh, wow.
Because what they showed me, that's what you arrested me for. They said cocaine conspiracy. I laughed. I said, I'll be out by dinner time.
Right. We all know that wasn't true.
That was not true.
5 years later, you get out of prison. Anthony, your son, picks you up. And this is so funny, you guys, especially for people in LA. What was your meal, your first meal coming out of prison? Your first real meal was?
In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out Burger. Come on, somebody. One of my favorite burgers of all time. My daughters and I are obsessed. When I read that in the book, I was like, yes, I love him already.
And you got to realize that was like a banquet.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
my
sure.
God.
I'll have 5 burgers, some fries, some milkshakes. So, you know, I grew up in Chicago. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't.
And so Al Capone was our, you know, mob boss in Chicago, our mafia leader. But there's Al Capone, there's Lucky Luciano, there's the Gambino family, there's the Pablo Escobar, there's, you know, the Francese's family that you know, Sonny and Michael, and so many people. And what I also read, well, I was going to ask you a question about that first because I have you on my couch. I can't not ask you this. What is the history of the mafia? Like, who even started the mafia? Where did that come from? And what was the point of a mafia?
It began in Sicily in the 1800s. You know, it was invaded by the French, and you know the wives on Sunday be at the park with the carriage, and the French soldiers were raping the women. And the men got together and said, we got to do something about it.
Do something.
And thus it was born.
Okay.
And then it spread through Italy.
Okay.
And in Italy, you got several. You got, in Sicily, it's called the Sicilia. And then they got another family in Sicily, too,
Right.
that they call. Calabria, where I'm from, it's the Androgata. Naples, the Gomorrah, Rome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so it kind of started in Italy, and that's why most mafia guys they're Italian.
yeah.
So who were some of the mafia guys that you were involved with? Because you were one of, I mean, you were the mob boss of Hollywood.
Well, you know, I go back, Frank Costello, Russell Buffalino, Carlo Marcello in New Orleans. Of course, Sonny Franchese and I were friends
Yeah.
for over 50 years. It was me who announced his death when he died. And Jimmy Cacci out here.
Yeah.
Jimmy was the underboss. And Joey Pyle out of London. And it's very unusual for somebody to be with all these different bosses.
Yeah.
I never took my button, as they call it, or never got made.
You never got made. Yeah.
I turned it down twice. And the reason I turned it down is I was able to call these guys directly. If you take your button, you're going to put you under some captain who you don't know, but you got to take the orders from him.
Right. You were more of a fixer in
Yeah.
Hollywood. You did a lot of fixing for a lot of major celebrities in Hollywood. So I don't know how much you could say, but I'm just going to ask you, like, could you tell us maybe one of your best fixes in Hollywood and maybe name the person you fixed?
Well, in my book, I mentioned Naomi Campbell. I
Naomi
only
Campbell.
mention her for a specific reason, which I won't get into. But Wyclef Jean of the Fugees called me up, and she was being stalked.
Oh, wow.
I went to her home, I met her, and it's all in my book. But I found a guy, and he lived in Long Island. So I had 2 guys go
Took care of it.
take care of
Hey,
it.
how you
And the
doing?
way I had them take care of it,
Yeah.
I said, go, when you get in the house, sit him in a chair, get me on the phone.
Chop his fingers off one by one.
No, no.
Oh, okay, all right. No torture was involved in the
No, I
fixing
had
things.
a nice talk with him.
Mm-hmm.
I explained to him that if he ever even thought of Naomi again, I said, take a look at those two gentlemen in front of you. They're being very nice to you today. If you even think of her,
Yeah.
the next time you see these two guys, those will be the last faces you'll see on earth.
Oh, baby. Now, listen, first of all, I love that you just named Naomi Campbell and Wyclef and all that. Your book, The Accidental Gangster, that we have right here, is getting ready to become a movie. How exciting. And some of the people that you're working with, these are like big dogs. They're like big guns. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Green Book.
Really?
Absolutely.
Great movie.
So the director, writer of that movie is going to be the director on your film. Producer on your film.
Yeah.
Tell me how that even happened, because I know Hollywood, and it does not work quickly like that. Who do you know? You know somebody, Ori.
It don't work quickly. It only took me 3 years to put this team together.
Okay, all right. That's still not that long.
That's still not that long.
Yeah.
I was blessed by another director by the name of Armand Mastroianni. After my book was out, told George Gallo about it and put me in touch with George Gallo. George was one of the very few guys who was working through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he wanted to write the script.
Right.
And we kept waiting. And I met David Steenhook on Clubhouse.
Really? There's a lot of cool people on Clubhouse, I have to say.
Yeah, this was during the pandemic when Clubhouse was really good. You had quality people there.
Absolutely.
But David was in the room. He knew who I was.
Right.
He started texting me. Now, by this time, I've gone through 4 writers.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm blessed. Nick Pileggi, Oliver Stone, people like that are friends of mine. And, but, you know, Nick gets $1 million to write a script.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we had a meeting with him. I saw it and I said, George, I told George Gallo about him. George said, let's give him a crack.
Okay.
And boom, he wrote a script.
Awesome.
And it was good. And then it was rewrite. You know, we had 5 rewrites.
Yeah.
The script is so tight now, it's unreal.
So when do you go into pre-production? Because I know that you were raising the funds, 20 million?
We're planning on March.
March. Did you raise all the funds yet?
About 24. We're there.
Are you there already?
Almost there, yeah.
Wow. Are there any like mobsters involved in the funding of this movie? No. So you know some people in Hollywood, right? You got your money, you're good. So who is gonna play Ori?
We have a list, and we had Sam Rockwell, Cavell. We have 5 guys. And then the lead part, we made the FBI agent a female.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so we got Jessica Chasen.
She's amazing.
Zoe Zaldana. I can't remember all their names.
Yeah.
You know what I do? Because I know my place.
Right.
And I don't want to have my nose in the business of the creative people.
Yeah. But let me ask you this. Casting, you better be in that room in casting. Because it's all about the feel.
Yeah.
Right? You will be in casting, I'm assuming.
I will be for the major parts.
You wrote these incredible letters to so many people in your life at the end of your book. For those of you that don't know what book I'm talking about, I'm here with Ori Spado. He is the Accidental Gangster. This is his book. And he wrote love letters. You had a couple different wives. How many did you have? 2 or 3?
But
Just 2.
I wrote about the first one in another book. I wrote my second wife here.
Yeah.
And
but what were you wrote a letter to your son, to your wife, to some of your mob boss friends? Why did you write the letters?
That came from my publisher at the time. He said, "Think you're good. Nobody's ever done that before." I thought about it. I said, "That is a good idea."
It's a really good idea.
You know. And then the other thing I put in there, I put my court documents.
I saw that.
Some of the motions that I actually wrote myself.
You did. I read that in your
Yeah.
book. You said when you got out of prison and your son Anthony picked you up, he pulled up in the car, and you said, "It's time for me to begin a new journey, probably my last, and I plan to make it the best one of my life." Do you feel like you've accomplished that?
I still got a way to go. I'm not going nowhere.
You're not going nowhere.
No.
I feel like you're going to be here a really long time, Ori.
You know, I was talking with Sammy Ravano, and we were talking about Sonny Franchese. And I told Sammy, I said, I'm going to live to 105. I'm going to outlive Sonny.
Why not 106?
Oh, well, let me finish. Now there's a little hesitation.
Yeah.
And Sammy comes back and he says, I'm going to live to 106.
Bam.
I said, Sammy, why the hell did you pick 106? He says, so I can go to your funeral.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Sonny. So you're still friends with some of your guys from the past?
Yeah.
Your mobster guys. Yeah, Sonny's one of them.
Yeah.
Sonny's still here, right?
No, Sonny passed
Oh, he
away,
passed
103 years old.
103. So are you close to your kids?
Yeah.
Anthony and Gina
And Ori.
and
Yeah.
Ori. Do they all live out here in Los Angeles?
No, Anthony lives here, or my son Ori lives in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
He's a pool contractor, one of the best down there in the Palm Beaches.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter is director of the Abraham House
Nice.
in Rome, Utica, New York area.
Okay. So do you feel like your life, because you're not in that excitement and stimulation of, being a mob, you weren't a mob boss, you weren't a made mob boss, but you were a fixer. There was I'm sure there's a lot of stimulation in all that. There's the women, there's the, you were important, right? People looked at you as an important guy, but it's a very different life. Do you like your life now, or did you like it better when you were in the wild kingdom?
You know what? My life was my destiny.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It was laid out for me. I lived it. I take full responsibility for all the good, the bad, and the ugly I've done. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I enjoy my life. I enjoy every day I get up. I will be 78 next month.
Congrats.
And thank God I'm still here. And I'm able, to help other people. And if every day, if I could help one person out, I did something.
Love it.
If I could help somebody else make their life better. I mentored a lot of young men, and to keep them out of the gang life. So if I could fix a problem for a Hollywood celebrity, I certainly could for 13, 14-year-old kids.
I love that. Give me the high five, Ori. I love that. I think that's incredible that you're doing that for these kids. This is something that I do with all my guests. So this is my little book of one-liners that I feel like are inspirational. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip through the pages, and you're going to tell me when to stop. And then that's going to be your page. You ready? All right, here we go. All right.
Stop.
This is you. Ready? Every master was once a beginner. Wow. That was for Ori. What do you think about that?
Absolutely true.
That's you.
I tell everybody, you got to begin to become something.
You got
to take that first step.
You got to begin to become somebody. I love that. So I'm going to give you final word as we wrap up the show. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to mention? There was a lot of notes, but I was in the moment. Is there something that you want to say to your people, our people on Instagram, TikTok, Amazon, YouTube?
Well, look, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Thank you all for the support that you give Sally and her endeavors, and all the support that you're giving me. Yeah.
Tell me about your emotion.
It happened today with my son, okay, telling a story, and how the writer was able to transfer that and put it into the script. And and I've been emotional since they read it to me 6:30 a.m. this morning on the phone.
Oh, okay.
You know, before he sent it out to George Gallo, Nick, and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, Jesus Christ, it was
Wow.
overwhelming because I heard things about the day that I was arrested. I heard my son say, you know, what it really did.
So you relived that moment,
So
and it
I
was
had to
emotional.
relive that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
You know, what most people don't know, they try to bring my son into the indictment. His name was on the papers.
It was on the papers.
And I fought like hell. And you got to understand, I'm in a prison cell in Brooklyn, New York. And I had to tell the judge, the U.S. attorney, I kept writing motion. I didn't want his name there. But I couldn't talk to my son on the phone about it.
Right.
What people don't realize, in prison, when you got an organized crime jacket, you know what a jacket is? It's not a jacket you wear. It's a folder that Department of Justice has on you.
Yeah.
Okay? Your phone calls are being recorded in Washington at the DOJ.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Not at the local prison.
Right.
Like everybody else's are.
Yeah.
And so we were very careful talking on the phone. Finally, in court one day, with a motion, the judge had them take my son out.
Okay. So you won.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was another tactic that they wanted to use
Of course.
to try to get me to become an informant.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you didn't become an informant, because I don't know if you would be here today. I'm glad that you were able to get out of prison to be with your kids after 5 years. And I'm glad that your relationship with your kids is strong. And I'm excited for not just your book, but your film, because people are going to really get to know you through, you know, your film called The Accidental Gangster. It's going to be the name.
Yeah.
This is going to be the name. And I can't wait to see. I hope Sam Rockwell is who plays you, because he's just magnificent actor.
He is. So far, he's the only, he's a real chameleon.
Yeah.
And the guy's amazing.
He
And
is.
all the other actors and actresses love working.
They love working with him,
When they got that kind of respect
Yeah.
for somebody.
Yeah, and speaking of Chameleon, you have a TV series that you're working on called The Chameleon.
Yeah.
With your son and your
My-
Spado, is it
and
Spado
George-
Productions?
George Gallo.
And George Gallo. So listen, I work in this industry too, so if you need some help, I'm right here, Ori. I feel like you and I are going to be friends for a very
All
long
right.
time. And
You got my phone number.
I do have your phone number. And am I in your contacts, so that way you see when my number comes up?
Let's see, I'm going to have to make sure.
Let's
it's
do
there.
that before you leave. We'll make sure
Before
that
I
happens
leave,
before he
okay?
leaves. So that way he could pick up my calls when I actually call. So I just want to thank you for being on the show. Welcome to my clubhouse. I loved being around you. I feel like you just have such a calming spirit, and you're so honest, and you're so aware, and you're just on top of I watched you when you came in, and just watching you look at everything, and I just love your spirit. I think you're great.
Thank you.
I do. And I'm glad that we met.
You're great, and glad we're friends now.
I'm glad we're friends too.
You see? You
So
bounced me to the audience again. I will have to send a couple guys out.
So Ori, talk to your audience and let them know where to find you.
Okay, you can find me at theaccidentalgangster.com. That's my website. You should go in there, subscribe now, because I'm putting together with Steve Savario Collie out of Tampa, Florida, stories by Ori. And these are stories that you don't get. You're only going to get, there's only about maybe 4 or 5 of us left in this country that could tell these stories.
Amazing.
Of the real stories about
Yeah.
La Cosa Nostra, and not what you read by mob historians or see the movies.
Yeah. So just check out The Accidental Gangster, the book and the movie coming up. And again, I appreciate you so much. Thank you all for being with me. My name is Sally Colón. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Sally Colón, the #1. TikTok, I'm Cool Mom Sally. And this show, if you missed any part of this episode, will be premiering on YouTube on Wednesday at noon Pacific Standard Time. And again, thank you, Ori, for being with us. Thank you for being with us. I love you all. I'll see you next time on Welcome to My Clubhouse.
Thank you, sir.